Georgia and Pennsylvania, and then I have Arizona and Wisconsin. Now, of these
four
four states,
so you're not throwing in Minnesota and Michigan?
So I'll tell you. I'll tell you about.
I mean,
I'll tell you about Minnesota and Michigan. But these four states, these are clearly, according to the Cook Political Report, these are toss-up states. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. had expressed interest in challenging President Joe Biden for the Democratic ticket next year. But then he's just announced that he'll be running as an independent.
Right.
Now, I know this is off the radar and maybe a lot of people haven't been following him or haven't been following this. But tell us a bit about RFK Jr. and if the Democrats have a reason to be worried that there's a Democrat who is saying that he's going to run for president as an independent. Annette.
So RF Kennedy Jr., for those who don't know, this is Bobby Kennedy's son, and Bobby Kennedy was assassinated. He's the brother of the Kennedy
JFK.
president that we know, JF Kennedy. So the Kennedys have their legacy here in U.S. history. A lot of people are familiar with the name.
Bad luck.
So
wow.
So RF Kennedy Jr. decided that he was going to run. Now he got his he has a very interesting life story. For those of you who don't know, he kind of had it rough when he was younger. He got addicted to drugs and kind of was not the person that the family would love to talk about.
Wasn't the Kennedy.
Right, having that name. He cleaned up his act, became an environmental lawyer, and was very successful. And at that time, he became now the jewel of the family, pride and joy. He was very successful at litigating and making sure that areas were, protected, that there was, people were being held accountable when it came to environmental issues. So as time progressed, there were some individuals who saw him as a good person to talk to when it came to issues of vaccination, and not wanting to vaccinate, so the anti-vaxxers and things like that. And his association with that then caused the family to want to disassociate a little bit with him, because that's not something that they agreed with being a mainstream position for you to take publicly. So when he announced to run for president, it was not necessarily surprising in that he is a Kennedy. So some of us are like, oh, another Kennedy. But it was surprising because he's an environmental lawyer. It didn't really seem to be his area of expertise. And with some of the statements that he made during COVID, that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, going back to the anti-vax positions that he has aligned himself with. So running as an independent is not something that we usually talk about, because basically it's either a Republican or a Democrat,
yes.
in this country. So why would an independent be important? Well, it's important if he has enough followers or enough people who are going to vote for him, which means that they're taking from one party or the other, or from both parties. So when he announced that he was running as an independent, everyone was scared. So the Republican Party released a statement that same day, I believe, if not the next day, and I think it was titled 23 Reasons Why You Shouldn't Vote. Or for RFK and Jr.
Now he became a darling for the Republican Party.
They released a statement and passed it out to say, this is why he's dangerous. The Democratic Party is never going to support someone against a current sitting,
an incumbent,
anyone, like whether it's regardless of whatever position they're in. They will they are not going to do that. If you happen to beat them in the primary, then you'll get the full support of the party, but they're not going to actively campaign against someone who is currently.
Yes.
And traditionally, we've seen that incumbents typically never get challenged. Like if you're president, your first term, and you're going into your second term, the other party will have a primary. But you see, like the Democratic Party right now, they're not having a primary because Joe Biden is the incumbent. There's actually precedent to challenging a sitting president that goes back in to 1980. I think Omosh might have been in his 20s then.
He was a pollster then.
Yeah. The I think it was President. What was the president then?
Reagan or Jimmy
not
Carter?
Reagan. Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter and Bob Kennedy is the one who ran against Jimmy Carter in the primaries. Now the president prevailed, but it left the party scarred. And guess what happened? Jimmy Carter went on and lost to Ronald Reagan.
We know why.
You know, like in the party, there was also the issue
The
with
Iran,
the Iran. There was the
Korea.
Iran issue.
That one is the one that.
But then it scarred the party. That primary run scarred the party, and since then, there's no president from either party who's had a primary challenge. But then we have precedent with people running either on smaller parties or running as independents. When we go back to 1992, we had Ross Perot, who ran, who I think ran as an independent.
Yes.
And some people claim that Ross Perot is the one who gave Bill Clinton the victory. Because remember, Bill Clinton beat, George Bush, who was an incumbent.
Yes.
And then when we go to the 2000 election, Ralph Nader was on the election where George W. Bush was running against Al Gore.
Yes.
And there was an issue in Florida. So Ralph Nader had a very big impact.
The Green Party.
Yes, in that election. So there's some precedent to this. So
And
What
it's
about
very
2016?
significant.
What about 2016?
who ran in 2016?
There was a lady, Mary somebody, who took away some of Hillary's. She did get some votes, and it was instrumental. It was actually instrumental.
Was that the lady, the one who used to be the HP?
No, not that one. There's another lady. I'm sure we can pull it up.
Yeah.
But I was also going to add to that, guys who can do Madhagondanyo. Joe Lieberman apparently has a joint called No Label Group.
A party?
Yes, and he's thinking of. And he's an independent. Isn't he an independent?
Yeah, he's an independent. He left the Democratic Party.
And he, if he was to, because they explore, just like Annette, they're exploring.
No, Annette has not declared. She's not exploring.
Okay. She has not declared.
She has not
Exploration
declared.
has been done.
Exploration committee is for this chap. Him,
Yes.
they
She can't
committee.
confirm or
She
deny.
can't confirm or
She
deny.
has
She's not.
exploration.
She would have said she's exploring.
But if Joe Lieberman apparently, because if it just so happens that is going to take away. That is for sure.
Now, I think people need to understand.
And also, what's his name? Left. He also became an independent. I don't
Christian Cinema,
No. The Cornel West.
Cornel West. Well, the thing that people should be concerned about, there are 4 states that I think will play a big part in determining who's going to be the next president.
You already said too.
I have Georgia and Pennsylvania, and then I have Arizona and Wisconsin. Now these 4 states.
So you're not throwing in Minnesota and Michigan?
So I'll tell you. I'll tell you about. I'll tell you about Minnesota and Michigan. But these 4 states, these are clearly, according to the Cook Political Report, these are toss-up states, and the Republicans need to win 3 of these states, and they have the presidency, and that's Trump. Democrats need to win at least 2 of these states, and they have the presidency. Now, there's other states, likely Republican, like North Carolina. So if the Democrats work really hard, they might be able to play there. Then there's 2 other states. I think it's Nevada. There's one other state, and Michigan. Nevada and Michigan. Those are likely Democrat, but if we're not careful, the Republicans can have... I'm more concerned about Michigan. Personally,
I would say Nevada,
what I know.
but what do I know?
No, Nevada is actually...
I'd be more concerned with Nevada, but what do I know? Because remember, it's also a large...
But the good thing about
Nevada,
Nevada, it may be big, but it only has 6 electoral college votes. Unlike Michigan, Michigan has, I think, 16.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, if we can review, the electoral college is really what elects the president.
Correct.
Right?
Absolutely.
So each state, each individual votes, and then you have the electoral votes, and then those are added up, and that's what we count to determine, right? And so that's why when we've had these years, like I will never forget when Al Gore ran and we were counting these numbers, and it seemed like what you hear is the popular vote is different from the electoral vote. That's
Correct.
how that happens, right?
Yes.
So you can have areas where you have a population that votes for one person, but if they don't have a lot of the electoral college, then that's going to impact differently than a state that has more. So that's basically what you're speaking to, and it's important to understand. And it's why when you see campaigns happening in certain states, like Trump has chosen, every time there has been a debate for the Republican Party, he has had a rally, and he's had these rallies in states where he has good Republican support because of the imagery of having that support there. But it's also going to be important to have now some rallies and have some interactions with populations in these toss-up states that you're discussing, finding out on the ground. So this is now what your central committees do. They find out on the ground what are the issues that people are concerned about. What would make them vote one way or another? Do you have individuals who are registered as one party but would be likely to run for another?
Swing.
A lot of times we hear about the polls that happen that we then hear on the news, but there's a lot of polling being done on the ground by central committees, and these central committees are for the Republican
internal party polls.
Yes, or for the Democratic Party. They then take this information back to the party and say, hey, this is what the constituents in this area are concerned about. So let's build our platform. Let's talk about this when we are campaigning and make sure that we can get, in this area. It's very strategic, right? So that's what's going to happen in these toss-up areas. So right now, there are people knocking door to door and figuring out what are the key issues. There are people who are attending the town halls and the local county meetings to figure out who is taking the time out of their day to go to these meetings to voice their concerns and what are they saying.